Oh, hey. Hello.
You look so pretty.
Oh,
I miss
thank you. Oh
I
my
miss
God, girl, I miss you too. Work is not the same at all.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and start. Again, thank you
Right.
so much for agreeing to do this. I appreciate you tons.
Of course.
So of course we know each other. My name is Cynthia. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. I'm going to be interviewing you for my one of my class projects for my introduction to gerontology. I'm learning about people's life experiences and important life events. So this is why my goal is to create a life story for you based on different experiences that you'll talk about and give me. And at the beginning of June, I'll be able to give you a copy of what they call an oral history, which will have all of that information. If you'd love to read it, I would absolutely go ahead and send it to you.
Okay.
Um, for disclosure purposes, of course, all of my questions, you only need to share what you're comfortable with, especially with making public. You have the right to skip any of my questions or to stop the interview at any point. And so, of course, with your permission, I'd like to audio record so I don't miss anything. Is that all okay?
Yes.
Okay. And then lastly, they just want me to also add that, if there's any disclosure of anything that could be abuse, I am required to stop the interview and to reach out to my professor.
Okay.
So, of course, what is your full name to begin with?
Do you have to give you my middle name?
Yes, please, actually.
It's Francine, Francine. My middle name is Ardith, Ardith, and my last name is Weiner, Weiner.
Do you ever go by your middle name?
Never.
Why not?
I don't like it. I've
Were
never
you
liked it.
named after anybody in your family or?
Yeah. So in the Jewish tradition, uh, uh, when a baby is born, their name is deceased in their family. So died 2 days before I was born, and her name was Fanny.
Mhm.
So Francine from Fanny, and then Ardith. It sounds like was my grandfather's. He went by Arden.
Mhm. Oh, that's beautiful.
So I got it.
And tell me about where you were born and when you were born.
I was born March 29th, 1954 at 4:01 p.m. Um, and what's the other question? I'm sorry.
Oh, where were you born?
Where? Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, I was born in Los Angeles.
Ooh, what part of Los Angeles?
I was born in, well, it was LA. I have my birth certificate. I don't know what I did with it. Um, it was at Methodist Church, I believe, in Los Angeles, downtown LA.
Mhm. And is that where you grew up also?
I grew I grew up in Baldwin Hills, Baldwin Hills.
Did you move at all when you were younger, like a lot, or did you stay in that one place for the majority of like your schooling?
I was there until I was 12. So I went to elementary school, Baldwin Hills Elementary, and then I went to Audubon. It's Audo, I think Bon, junior high.
Hmm.
Then during that time, there was a flood, a dam burst in, oh, I don't remember when it was, what the year was. Um, I can do the math. There was a flood, and we had to evacuate. A dam broke. It was above where we lived. There was a dam that facilitated the city. The dam broke. I was at my friend's ninth birthday party up by the dam.
Hmm.
Um, it broke. It flooded. It came down and it flooded the whole area of Baldwin Hills. We evacuated and then came back once we were allowed back in. And my parents decided to move. There was some damage to the house,
Hmm.
but it was becoming very, very um, segregated at that time. So racial tensions were pretty high. So they moved their two white Jewish girls to the valley, to San Fernando Valley, to Van Nuys.
Hmm. And how was that adjusting,
It
as
was really,
that age?
yeah, it was really difficult because where I grew up, the majority of my friends were Black.
Hmm.
There was a lot of Asians, mostly Japanese, and then Hispanic, and then there was the whites, and the whites were very white, mainly Jewish, were very a small percentage. So when they moved me to the valley to junior high, most people were white, and it was a really hard adjustment for me. Like they had sprinkled in like a Black kid here and a Hispanic kid there, and so it was a really difficult adjustment for me because I was
Hmm.
used to being around everybody, every color, everything. That was my growing up for the most part.
Hmm. By chance, were you able to stay in touch from with anybody from your school before you moved? Did
Yeah, I still have friends, Debbie and Gina, since we're 5 years old. So we met right when we were going into kindergarten, and we've been friends to this day. They're two of my best friends.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And in terms of course after you moved, you know, you said that you live now in a area where the demographic looked a lot different. In terms of
Mhm.
like activities and things like that, did like you anything change in terms of like your interests, you know, moving to a new place?
Um, Not really. I mean, my interest has always been in art.
Hmm.
So I would that's something that can be moved, you know, your art history, your art studies, or your practical art. So I was always interested in that. So that wasn't that much of an adjustment. I mean, obviously my friends were of a different ethnicity for the
Hmm.
most part. The majority of my friends are white. Um, so that was an adjustment, you know, if I'm repeating myself, but that was the main adjustment. Did I
Hmm.
answer your question?
And what was your schooling like? You know, yeah, you answered that well. In terms of your schooling, I know you mentioned that you always enjoyed like art. Um, you know, how did you said you had different mediums of art that you enjoyed, you know, I guess starting from when you were younger in elementary school, did you like to like paint? Did you like music?
Um, I'd like to paint, and we did a lot of little, and I have pictures of them. They're not here. I mean, the physical. We did little sculptures, you know, which I loved out of clay, and we would glaze them, and you know, it was like it wasn't pottery, but they were animals and things like that. So that was fun, and I was really artistic at an early age. My mom was very artistic, and I inherited that gene. Um, yeah, and we also was it junior high? No, that was elementary school. Did that answer the question?
Hmm.
Okay.
And can you tell me a little bit about your parents? I know that you're very close to your parents and have spoken a little bit about how you know they're still involved in your life.
Well, okay. My parents, Eddie and Lil, although she changed her name to Lindsay when she was 75 because she didn't like the name Lillian.
Hmm.
I had a really interesting relationship with them because they're gone now. They passed away in 2013, 90 days apart. Um, they were from the Depression era.
Hmm.
And my mother came from dirt. I mean, uh, there was 10 people,
Hmm.
my two grandparents, and then 8 children that lived in a one room house. It was one room, and they all were in this house. And it was very bad for my mom. And she carried that with her through her life. She saved everything, and um, she was very frugal. Um,
Hmm.
and my dad um, was from a family during the Depression, but they had means. They didn't have a lot of money, but they had enough money to survive.
Hmm.
Um, but being from that era, communication wasn't great between my mother and me.
Hmm.
So my mother communicated in a way with me by um, she never asked me about my feelings and you know things like that. If
Hmm.
when things happened when I was young at elementary school, I would come home and of course she would you know ask what was going on. But as I
Hmm.
got older, communication really wasn't there. She would communicate, Francine, read this article, or Francine, look at this book. This will explain things to you. So there was never any life lessons from her for the most part then.
Hmm.
Um, you know, if you kiss a boy, you're going to get pregnant. You know, it was silly things like that. Not having sex until you're married. Um, she was just from a different time. She didn't like me to swear. I would get grounded if I said the word bitchin', which was the term back then, which, you know, but I love my parents dearly. I mean, they did the best that they could. Um, they took us on trips every year, my sister and I. My sister's Barbara is 6 years older than I am.
Hmm.
And they took us on trips and they made sure that we had what we needed um, to have a
Hmm.
comfortable
And do you only have one sibling, your sister?
sister.
And what was like growing up? Were you guys close growing up?
So my sister's 6 years older than I am.
Hmm.
And my mother they tried to have children closer to her age, but my mother got sick
Mhm.
after my sister was, I don't know, a couple years old. So she wasn't able to get pregnant for a while. So 6 years later, I came along, and my sister has always said that our parents had me for her. Um, I didn't
Mhm.
walk until I was 2 years old. And I asked my mother, wasn't there concern? And my mother said, look at all the pictures. Look at your pictures. Look at the home movies. Your sister was always carrying you. She never
Mhm.
really let you down. We're incredibly close. We always have been
Mhm.
very close. I love her to death.
Does she live in the area now, like the same
She lives
area?
in San Diego area, a couple hours away.
And in terms of your grandparents, did you grow up with your grandparents being present in your life?
I grew up with my grandparents, my father's family. My
Mhm.
grandfather from my mom's father died at a very early age. And my mom's mother, my grandma, died 2 days before I was born. I was born on the 29th. She passed away on the 26th. So I never knew my mom's side. But yes, I had grandparents, Sadie and Max,
Mhm.
that my grandmother came here to get away from the Bolsheviks from um, I don't know if she was from Kiev, somewhere in Russia. Um, and my grandfather came here. I don't really know that much about him. He was very quiet. My grandmother, she was very overbearing. She did all the talking. We think now that my grandfather had dementia
Mhm.
at early age, but my grandmother was with us all the time. I was one of her favorites. She always told me that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so I was very close with her. It was really interesting to hear about her childhood or her growing
Mhm.
up in Russia. Um, my grandparents it was kind of an arranged marriage.
Mhm.
Um, they met somewhere in went to Canada. So when they came through Ellis Island, where all of the immigrants came, um, they went to Canada, both of them separately, and they met in their neighborhood basically and got married at a very young age.
Mhm. And in terms of like you mentioned you were close to your grandmother, what would you say is the biggest thing that you learned from her, or maybe a life lesson that you may have taken from a story that may have mentioned?
She was just a very strong woman, and um, she didn't put up a fight, but she wasn't a pushover, let's put it that way. And
Mhm.
she taught me, along with my parents, to go for it. Don't take no for an answer. There's always a solution to problems, not to just, if somebody told me something, to lay back and take it as the gospel.
Mhm.
Um, what else? I learned to appreciate who I was at a very young age, listening to my grandmother's life prior to coming to the US, and mainly my mother's life during the
Mhm.
Depression. So I've always been really grateful for my parents to give me the life that they could, which was wonderful for the most part.
Mhm.
So gratitude, a lot of gratitude from my grandmother and my parents for that matter.
Mhm. Oh, that's beautiful. Now, growing up, in terms of, we mentioned you a little bit about your schooling. In terms of after school, is there any kinds of activities that you really enjoyed? Were you into any kinds of sports clubs? Or maybe did you have a job in terms of like maybe high school?
High school, well, junior high, there was a social club. We were called the Teen Toppers.
The
And
teen toppers.
I know, the Teen Toppers. And we still get together, believe it or not, after all this time from junior high. And the Teen Toppers, after school, we'd go on trips. We would have dances. I can't even remember everything we did. I mean, because some of us got in trouble a lot, wanting to flirt with boys and do things like that. But I always enjoyed art. I mean, art was a big part of me. I loved art history. Um, trying to think what else in junior high. I wasn't athletic because here's the deal. When I was very young, I had astigmatism in my eye.
Hmm.
Okay. So I wore those, you don't want to know, but there was frosted like butterfly tip glasses. And I had to wear glasses. I mean, I started like when I was 5.
Hmm.
And I also had a lisp. I couldn't pronounce my S's. Okay. So that's
Oh,
2.
cute.
And the third thing was that one leg, I had scoliosis. So one leg was shorter than the other. So in junior high, I had to wear this shoe that had like this Frankenstein lift to be able to balance out my legs. Okay. And the scoliosis. So that's where I got my sense of humor because I was made fun of with the list, with the glasses, with the lift, with the speech impediment.
Hmm.
So that was my early.
Hmm. Oh no, I understand. I've been wearing glasses since I've been, I think was maybe 7 or 8, so it was quite an adjustment for a while. It wasn't until around now where I'm like, okay, I'll embrace the glasses now because
Right.
it's not really hasn't been the trendy thing.
Yeah, but you look good in your glasses. So you look pretty in your glasses. Yeah, so
Mhm.
I wasn't into sports. I have to say, I was more
Mhm.
social with my social came with my club and my
Mhm.
friends. No athletic clubs.
And I'm sure that your love for films probably started very early in life as well, right?
My what? I'm sorry, you broke up. My what?
Oh, your love for films.
Well, really, when I was in high school, I wanted to go towards an art major, and I only went to junior college for 1 year because I had a horse, which I showed you, sent you pictures.
Oh
I
yes,
got a
yes.
Yeah, I got a
Mhm.
horse. That's a whole nother story. But my sister and
Mhm.
I were stable bums, and my sister would always go riding. I was too young at the time, and there was a horse I fell in love with. To make a long story short, a woman, very wealthy woman, found out about my love for her horse,
Mhm.
and the horse was being neglected. So she said, "I'll sell you the horse for $1." So I went home to my dad and I said, "A woman's selling me her horse for $1." And my dad thought, well, this is going to be some sway back horse, with its belly hitting the floor. And his name was O'Hara, and he turned out to be this American saddlebred. And
Mhm.
those are incredibly expensive horses. They're show horses, all those things. So I got O'Hara for $1. And he was really neurotic and crazy. So I sold him and got the horse I'm riding in the picture. His name was Red Eagle Sunset. And so I got the horse. My parents
Mhm.
supported the horse to a certain point. My dad said, if you want to keep that horse, you have to get a job. So I got 2 jobs. I got one in retail sales. It was,
Mhm.
it was like Anthropology or one of those type of stores. And then I got a receptionist job at a videotape studio where they made commercials. And I was the
Mhm.
receptionist. Are you there?
Yes, sorry. I'm also going to share my screen just so that they could see some of
Okay.
your photos. Or maybe not my thing here on my emails. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, sorry. Can continue on.
It's okay. So I went to work as a receptionist at the studio, and
Mhm.
there was a producer there who was producing a children's show, and he hired me as his assistant away from the receptionist desk. So um, I got in. Let's just put it that way. I also did some on-camera commercials, which I did not like at all. I liked the technical part of the process.
Mhm.
So I worked with him, and then I ended up working for being an assistant to a director, a commercial director.
Mhm.
Uh, he was awful. So I decided to go freelance as a production assistant. And I went freelance. I hooked up with two. men that became my partners at a very early age. They were both assistant directors.
Hmm.
And I went freelance at that point. I was, God, hell, no, no, I take it back. I went to work for a man named Ross McCants. I'm sorry. And I produced for him. We did political campaigns. And we did a campaign for Ted Kennedy when he wanted to run for president. So
Hmm.
that was very interesting. And we did a lot of political commercials. That whole world freaked me out because it's politics were horrible for me. And back at the time,
Hmm.
women weren't really involved in the producing, right?
Hmm.
So when we would go to these meetings with these politicians, I was basically not there. I mean, I was there in the room, but I
Hmm.
really um, participate, if you will. And I worked for Ross for a couple of years, and then I went freelance.
Hmm.
And that was I started freelancing, and I did a bunch of different things. I was a production assistant. I worked in the art department.
Hmm.
I did a bit of wardrobe, and then I started producing. I produced my first job when I was 25. My
Wow.
first commercial, SeaWorld,
Oh wow,
and
for Sue.
yeah, and I never stopped. I mean, I never
Hmm.
stopped. I really stopped producing just a couple of years ago. So I'd say in my late 60s. Actually, yeah, I
Hmm.
stopped in my late 60s.
And what kept you motivated through doing something so difficult like that? Like you mentioned, especially being a woman in that industry, what made you want to keep staying and fighting through these kinds of battles?
Well, I sent you a picture of me surrounded. It's this one.
Hmm.
And you could see that I was the only woman surrounded by men,
Hmm.
that shot. So Cassidy said, I was 25 for my first job. All the majority of the crew were male and they were older.
Hmm.
So when I came on this the scene, the respect was very there really wasn't any respect for me. It's like she's young, she doesn't know what she's doing, blah blah blah. And I had a fight to prove myself. I fired somebody because he was horrible. So when they saw that I had the ability to fire and that I really knew what I was doing, my
Hmm.
respect started to um, get stronger and stronger. And
Hmm.
back then, there wasn't a lot of female producers. I was one of maybe 10 at the most back then. And it's just what's kept me going is first of all, I loved it. I mean,
Hmm.
I love numbers, and producing is about numbers. So it
Hmm.
was kind of like a puzzle of putting everything together. And
Hmm.
production is constantly changing. It's evolving into different, like now there's AI. Back then there was 3D and there was, I'm trying to think what else, I kept learning new
Hmm.
things. And I got to work with different people all the time. I was freelancing. So I got to work with different crews and go,
Hmm.
I've been so many places I've done a lot of international work. And
Hmm.
I'm a people person and I just love my crews and I love the challenge. For a producer, it's a challenge because you're given a amount of money,
Hmm.
right, for a budget. And of course, everybody wants everything. And that drives up the budget. So it was my job to give people, not to, what's the word I'm looking for? Not to take away the integrity of the project, but I had to learn how to manage it so people could get what they wanted within the and keep it within the budget because all of the companies wanted the producers to bring the jobs in under budget. So, but I loved it. It was a challenge and I love challenges.
Hmm. And what would you say was probably the most memorable or most exciting, maybe project that you may have worked on?
God, there's so many. Well, I produced one of the first 3D commercials for the Super Bowl.
Hmm.
It was for, God, what was that called? Sobe Water, SOBE Water. and it
Mhm.
was 3D, it was animation, and it was 3D. 3D wasn't done. It was just starting to come onto the scene. And we did a 3D commercial for the first commercial break in the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
So learning the process of 3D was great. It was all these, I loved learning. I loved the process. I worked for George Lucas's company, ILM,
Mhm.
which does, you know who they are. And I was one of the first producers commercially for them. So
Mhm.
I was exposed to special effects and claymation and animation and all of those things. So
Mhm.
I loved it. And
And
travel. Go ahead.
no, no, no. That sounds like such a fun time. I mean, like you mentioned, I mean, you're learning all of these different crafts. I mean, like you mentioned, that does fits perfectly with your personality of arts. I mean, there, it doesn't just encompass one thing. I mean, you're doing so many different things. I mean, like you said, you did some politics. You did the Super Bowl. So, I mean, you really were stretching your hands into like every kind of like, film media that there possibly was.
Yeah, I did commercial for everything with the exception. Well, I take that back because I did do feminine hygiene at one point, but I've done everything, and I've worked with movie stars, celebrities. I've worked with musicians. I've worked with animals. I've worked with children. So it is multifaceted. It's not boring. It was just learning, and it was the challenge. It was like putting puzzle pieces together and bringing it in under budget. And that was part of my popularity as a producer because
Mhm.
companies knew that I was known for producing, giving people everything they wanted and bringing it in under budget.
Mhm. And what would you say in terms of your career was like maybe do you have any very significant setbacks or maybe rejections that you feel led you to the path that you would end up on?
With producing.
Yeah, was there any kinds of like rejections or setbacks that had happened that
Um, well, it
uh
was really competitive.
mhm.
Being a freelance person, it was really competitive. Setbacks.
I guess
Um,
like you mentioned, most likely probably just being a woman, like you said. I mean, there was you were one of very few women in the industry. Were you friends with the women? Like you mentioned.
well, it's we did the same thing, so we
Mhm.
really didn't, um, you know, have the opportunity. I mean, I knew who they were,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, it ran parallel, so there was really no opportunity to be
Mhm.
friends. I A lot of my best and good friends have come out of my profession. I mean, people
Mhm.
that work in the advertising agencies, some of my crew. I mean, I've stayed very close to some people, so that's
Mhm.
been a gift. The setback. Um, Yeah, I mean, there were setbacks when I would go up for a job and I wouldn't get it. Another producer would get it for whatever reason. That was disappointing, but it also um, boosted my will, if you will, to keep moving forward and getting my name and yeah, being a top producer
Mhm.
in the industry.
And like you mentioned, the industry is significantly different with the introduction of like more technology. But is there any kind of advice that you would give somebody nowadays that's going into the industry, maybe another woman as well?
People like yourself, they go and let's say people go to the Art Institute or for film, right? Which is great to have, but really how I learned was by practical application. I mean, I learned on the job. I actually went, people say, what was your schooling? And it was my industry. I learned everything by having to do it, and I made mistakes, and um, um, I just lost my train of thought. What was the question? I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're okay. It's what kind of advice would you give maybe another
Oh,
woman in the industry?
um, what advice? Just, be who you are. Don't take no for an answer. And be be able to handle disappointment at times, but to just keep thriving, you have to keep moving. When you send emails out, you have to follow up with the emails. You have to reach out by phone. Texting is great, but there's a lot lost in communication in texting,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, and I've experienced that. But I would just say you have to just keep pushing. You have to push. You have to make yourself very visible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and be honest. I'm very transparent. I was very transparent with my clients and with my crew and my directors. You
Mm-hmm.
know, my slogan was, if we're going to go down with the ship, we're all going down. It's a group effort, as opposed to they're the advertising agency, and they're not. They're playing with these cards, and we have different cards, and I just made it like a team. Now, did I expose and reveal certain things to my clients? No, but they were kept in the loop. They were transparency. I think is really important.
Mm-hmm. And if you could change anything about the industry right now, the film industry, is there anything that you would want to change?
Don't take this personally, but it's a age. There's age discrimination. Okay. Um, I got hired. I worked as a cost consultant for McDonald's in their production, in the production aspect. So they gave me what was I going to say? They gave me a budget, okay, for their commercials. Like, I was a Happy Meal girl. That was my account for all the Happy Meal commercials. Um, and They did not discriminate. What they liked about me and a lot of other people that worked for the company is that we have experience and wisdom. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I get calls from some of my younger friends that are in it now, asking me for advice. How do I approach this? How do I do this? How do I do that? Um, the industry now is very young, um, as opposed to who we are. But again, I started really young, but the majority of people back then weren't that young.
Mm-hmm.
So um, there's a lot that again, it goes to experience.
Mm-hmm.
So with age, you have wisdom and you have experience under your belt. And I'm not discounting that millennials or the young people don't know what they're doing, but they don't have the experience. you
Mm-hmm.
know uh, um I mean, I made mistakes and I learned from my mistakes, and I think that's life. You make mistakes. You learn how to remedy those mistakes. You learn from them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's most definitely different now that there's the internet, and so you have that platform to get yourself out on like the industry, right? Like you can make yourself known via TikTok or Instagram, and that can jump you some hoops as opposed to like you mentioned, being in person, and you don't have to make the physical connections as much. It feels like.
Yeah, I mean, Zoom. I mean, I with my consulting, and I also and I still do this once in a while, not right now, but I did bids. I did bidding for jobs, which meant um, production companies would get storyboards for a client. They would have to submit their estimate of what their company needed to meet all of the requirements of what the client was asking for. So I
Mhm.
do budgets for different production companies to submit to their clients. Um, and there's transparency there too, to a certain extent. I mean, you can't reveal all of your cards, right?
Mhm.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah, you're kind of like playing poker, playing so like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
all strategy. And like
exactly.
you mentioned, the being in the industry, these younger adults that are in the industry nowadays, there's certain things that they may not learn uh,
Right.
because of the entryway that they're taking nowadays.
Well, yeah, but the good thing is, like you were saying with TikTok and all, there's so much more exposure. You can be exposed in so many ways and reach people that way. I mean, back in the prehistoric days when I was there, there wasn't even emails.
Mhm.
You know, I have to type different letters and send them to people or make appointments. I mainly made appointments to
Mhm.
have people. That's important too. You know, in my opinion, you can send a resume, okay?
Mhm.
And that's very one dimensional, right? So I always ask for a either a phone conversation or a Zoom to really have somebody or let somebody know who I really am.
Mhm.
You know, the dimensions that I have, my personality, my experience, so on and so forth.
Mhm. And to talk a little bit more about like your personal life, were you ever married or did you ever have any children?
No to marry. I had two long-term relationships, and I'm
Mhm.
glad I didn't marry either one of them. I've never had children. I've only had dogs. Those are
Oh,
my.
tell me about you love dogs. I know
I
that is a part of your life that it has always been big.
yeah. I have always been into rescue, and I hooked up with Life Animal Rescue. God, probably 12 years ago, no more than that, like 15 years ago, to
Mhm.
volunteer. And what Life does is they mainly deal with foreign countries because the atrocities that happen, you know, they shoot them in Qatar, they set them on fire in Russia, they do horrible things. So we
Mhm.
do rescue here, but mainly our focus is on foreign countries.
Mhm.
So my volunteer duties are going to the airport, international airport, getting the
Mhm.
dogs through customs. Sometimes they're volunteers, sometimes I have to go to cargo, and bringing them back to a beautiful, wonderful rescue and acclimating them and getting them ready for adoption. So mainly, I deal with a lot of the problem dogs,
Mhm.
um, and get them to. They've seen horrible things, so they come in. Like my dog Cassidy, who's here, she came from Qatar, and she just literally dodged a bullet because they kill feral dogs in Qatar.
Mhm.
So yes, I love animals and I love rescuing. Um, yes.
Did you
So
have a childhood dog that you grew up with at home?
no, my mother was afraid of dogs and she never let us have a dog. And finally, when I was 12, she allowed us to get a dog, but it had to live outside.
Mhm. What kind of
So
dog was it?
he was a terrier mix, like a poodle mix. His name was Alfie.
Mhm. And you still volunteer at the shelter, you said, right?
It's a rescue.
Rescue. Mhm.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Um, and in terms of looking at, like, I guess a little bit more broader your life, what would you say was one of the happiest times of your life?
Um, Happiest times of my life. I loved junior high. I loved high school. Um, I I'll tell you, I um, volunteered for an organization called Wheels for Humanity.
Mhm.
And what we did was supplied ambulatory needs to third world countries. So I did missions to
Mhm.
different countries to have these people, like in Nicaragua, they have bends from they in this port, you know, they
Mhm.
make their living off of diving in the fish, and helping them
Mhm.
was amazing. I was also involved on I was on the board of directors for United Cerebral Palsy. So I I just love helping. That's what makes me happy. Um, in my later life, that was making me happy. When I had my horse, that was I was so happy with my horse. That
Mhm.
was during that time.
Mhm. And in terms of like life and how you like to live it, like you said, you like to be a person who is very caring and very loving. Like you said, a lot of the things that you do involve helping other people. What would you say are values that you hold very dear in your heart?
Um, to treat people the way I want to be treated is really important to me. Um, to not to listen is very important to me as opposed to hearing. I think that's two different things. Um, um, to be positive in this world, to keep my positivity and my gratitude.
Hmm.
Um, what else? Just unfortunate. I'm grateful. You know,
Hmm.
I've worked really hard. I've had a really incredible life with my career.
Hmm.
I feel really blessed. I went all around the world and I was paid for it. So I've been able
Hmm.
to experience so many different places and people.
Hmm.
Um, and
I
my
do have to ask. Yes, two questions. What was your favorite place to have visited? Like you mentioned, you've traveled to quite a lot of places. And what would you say was your least favorite place to have visited?
Okay, my favorite place is Cape Town, South Africa.
Hmm.
I love the people. The African people are, they just have a soul. They're very soulful. It's also very beautiful. My least favorite, trying to think my least favorite, and this is through production, was Mexico, dealing in Mexico with production. Oh, I take it back. Barbados was we got robbed. I got robbed at gunpoint in Barbados on a production.
Okay, yeah, I would say probably that'd probably be the worst one.
Yeah, Barbados was the worst.
Oh gosh, how long were you there for when
In
you?
Barbados,
Hmm.
um, I was there for about 3 weeks, but
Hmm.
at that time it was like a lot of places. There's a lot of poverty,
Hmm.
so here come these people, these film people with money, and yeah, it was awful. We
Hmm.
got robbed. They almost arrested me because I was so furious with the police. Um, because I think it was an inside job, and I think the police and a lot of people were involved um, in that. So yeah, Barbados sucked.
Hmm. And I know you talked about your family and their influence in your life. Is there anybody outside of your family that you would say had a big influence on who you became? Was there
Uh,
any other mentors throughout your life?
oh yeah. One of my directors was a huge mentor, um, and I give him he taught me so much. He took me under his wing, and he taught me so much about production, but also about the way how you approach life in production and out of production. So a director named Ross. Um, Trying to think who else. Yeah, there's another woman. She's older than I am. This really successful executive producer took me under her wing. She mentored me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, there's been several people. I mean, not a lot, but there's been several people, and I'd say probably 4 or 5 of them were my
Wh-
mentors.
Have you ever been a mentor to anybody else?
Hmm. I have.
Do you have like any, like you mentioned, you have a sister. Does she have any children? Like, do you have any, like nieces or nephews in your life?
My sister had 2 children, 2 girls, Erin and Tara, and unfortunately, my niece Erin was murdered when she was 18.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So I have now one niece, I have one great niece, and I have four. Let's see, Tara's my niece, Erin's my great niece, and I have four great greats from the age of 5 down to
Mhm.
1.
Let's see. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
In terms of, you're, I guess, as of right now, I guess you're currently not working, right?
Right.
Your last, we used to work together. Your last job was with, gosh, I'm getting used to it, Belmont Village Senior Living,
Right. That's right.
where we worked together as enrichment leaders.
Correct.
And I want to ask a little bit about how you ended up there as well. Like you mentioned, you're somebody who, your jobs and your careers focus on, how you can, you know, benefit others and help others. How did you make the choice to work somewhere where it is like, memory care, working with people with dementia? Often, we're being asked, why would you do that? How can you do that? How would you answer to those questions?
I Belmont, I was looking for something, I'm not totally retired, but I was looking for something to fill some of the gaps. And I wanted to get into not for profit, but not for profit doesn't pay. They don't have money. That's
Mhm.
why they raise money. Okay, so that didn't work. And then somehow I don't remember how it came across for Belmont. And I went for an interview, and I asked our team leader
Mhm.
why she hired me, because I know that the requirement was to have some kind of degree, um, which I don't have. And she said the reason she hired me was for my empathy,
Mhm.
uh, and my passion for people,
Mhm.
and helping people. That's how I got Belmont, because I said, "What am I doing here? Everybody like you and everybody else all had degrees or so on and so forth." So that's how it came to me. Um, yeah.
Was college something that you ever considered? I mean, in terms of, like we mentioned, nowadays film school is way more popular for those who want to be in that industry. But in terms of like at your age, about 18, was that ever a consideration for you?
No, because I got into the film business,
Mhm.
and that,
And it was a
that
need.
told that was it for me.
Hmm.
I mean, I'd love to go back to college now and study law. I'd love to be a prosecutor,
Hmm.
but it's a little late for that.
Why a prosecutor?
Um, well, and getting back to when my niece was murdered, and going through the trial of the person that killed her, um, prosecutors dig, right? They dig for the truth, and they dig, to reveal the truth. And just the defense attorneys, um, I've never cared for, because they are trying to get their client off, but when there's so much evidence stacked against somebody,
Hmm.
and I know you're not supposed to judge them until they're tried and so on and so forth, but with my personal experience with the whole thing, the prosecutor um, was good, but not. I don't think that she was strong enough. And just going through that whole process with the death and the police and the whole thing, I don't think that in particular. Well, there was a couple of different prosecutors, but I just felt that I wanted to really get in there and fight for what was right, and what's true, and get the honest stories, or not honest, but get people um, tried for what they were, and convicted for what the evidence proved. I mean, it was a personal thing. It was from that experience, that when my niece was killed.
Hmm.
So it's always fascinated me, just to delve into the truth and get, what, just uphold the law,
Hmm.
which I don't think it's done very much lately. And the wrong people get, convicted, and the right people, I mean, the right people get convicted, the wrong people don't. In a lot of cases, I'm not saying all the time, but yeah. And I just find it really fascinating. I find law really fascinating. It's a debate, I like to debate, and it's kind of like a debate.
Hmm. I like it. You like jobs that are very like quick thinking, like on light on your feet. You like things that are like constantly changing or things that you can constantly actively be working towards. You're
Right.
somebody that seems like, you're a big problem solver. Give me this issue and let me solve it. Give me this issue and let me solve it.
Yeah, I like the challenge.
And in terms of, how your life is nowadays, like you mentioned, you are currently involved with the rescue, but outside of that, what does your normal day maybe look like for Francine? And what could I find Francine doing on a random maybe Wednesday?
Well, here's the deal. I'm on leave of absence and I am limited to what I can do right now.
Mhm.
Um, so I love seeing my friends.
What do you
Uh,
and your friends do? What's like what would you say is like the number one thing? Like if you and your girls are gotta go out, what would you do with them?
Go to dinner, have cocktails, have a lot of conversation. Um, like my friend staying here, she used to be my production manager. We've been friends forever.
Mhm.
We love chatting about the good old days and now and politics. And, you know, politics is a big thing for me too.
Mhm.
It's a big thing. But I really, I've been kind of dormant because of my situation.
Mhm.
But in normal life, I like going to the gym.
Mhm.
I love museums. I love Robin will laugh, but I love art. So if I can see art in museums, um, um, I'm just very social. I mean, I what I would love to do now that I have more time is I want to take art lessons. Uh,
Mhm.
I also want to take history. I want to go. I want to take a history of the United States of America.
Mhm. And like you mentioned with museums, I love museums. I have to ask because you've traveled so much. What has been one of your most famous museum visits?
Well, God, what the hell is the name? Well, going to visit the Pope
Hmm.
and going to Italy and seeing all the art at any museum. I mean, I was in Rome, and I this is years ago, and I was walking down the Spanish Step poster of an exhibit of Picasso. There was a Picasso, and I just tripped on it. I wasn't planning. But my favorite museum, well, I love the Metropolitan Museum in New York. I think that's one of the most amazing museums. God, what is the, oh, God damn it, what is the museum that I love? It's in Italy, and it's, can't think of the name of it. And I also love the Getty. I mean, it's all here, but I love both Gettys. Um, and I love art history, so I love the history behind it. I'm trying to think of what exhibit I just saw. I was in Italy, and we went to. This wasn't an exhibit, but we went to the Colosseum.
Hmm.
Um, but I can't think. The starts with an O. The I can't remember the name of it. Um, which doesn't help you. It's the Orsay. Thank you very much. The Orsay. It's it's an amazing. The Orsay was it was a old train station at the time, way back in the day, and they have some of the structures from the train station. They tried to keep the integrity of it, and it's a museum, and it's amazing. I'm just amazed by art. I'm just absolutely fascinated by it all.
I think we briefly touched on it a little bit, but where do you currently live?
I live in West Hills, which is adjacent to Calabasas.
Mhm. And it seems like you've generally stayed in the LA area for most of your life, if not all of it.
Mhm.
What's inspired you to stay here? Why not somewhere else? Why not try somewhere like New York, maybe, where maybe even you could do film out there?
Well, part of the reason that I've been here is I did so much international work, and I traveled. Believe me, I am contemplating my next move. Yes, I'm not a person that's real fond of change, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
Um, I've made a very comfortable life here, and I have wonderful friends and neighbors and beautiful parks and things like that. But I'm considering possibly. My goddaughter lives in Madrid, and they're moving to Marbella, which is the beach of Spain, and renting their apartment in Madrid to see how I like it there. There's a lot of art in Spain too.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's an art thing for me. It's history, it's art.
Mhm.
So what do? I go to museums, I go to bars, I go to restaurants. Um, I spend time with my dog, walking. I like hiking, but I can't do that right now. Um,
Mhm.
and I love going to places and getting lost. Everyone thinks I'm crazy for that, but when I get lost, I see things that I wouldn't see if I went on the right road. It's happened to me a lot. It's also when I go to places, Italy, wherever I've gone, I've always ventured off of the normal path to explore. I love getting lost and seeing things that I would never see if I went in the right direction. So that's something else with me. I love discovery.
Mhm. I like that. And now, in general, how would you like to be remembered? Let's just say somebody finds this paper 100 years from now, and they're reading about Francine. What would you like for them to remember about you or about who you are as a person?
My compassion, my empathy. I mean, people tell me that I light up a room and I make friends wherever I go. I talk to everybody. So being friendly, being a kind person,
Hmm.
um, a very compassionate, loving person is who I feel I am. And that's how I want to be remembered.
Have you always been that way since you were younger, a very social person?
Yeah, my mother tells a story. When we lived in Baldwin Hills, I think I was about 5 or 6. My whole block was little boys. And my
Hmm.
mom said that I was like the only little girl. She said that I would go outside and yell, "Boys, I'm ready to play," and I do. I make friends wherever I go. I was just with Robin, my friend who's visiting, and we
Hmm.
went to dinner, Plata in there's a center, and there's retail stores, and there's another restaurant. I know so many people from there. And Robin said, "What is the deal? How do you know everybody?" Because I strike up conversations and I attract people and people, I love people. I just love people. So, um, yeah.
And in general in life, would you say that you may have like any kinds of regrets of things that you may wish that you would have done, I guess, earlier or younger, or any, we've worked together, so you've often heard the residents go, "Oh, I wish I would have gone, skydiving," or, whatever the case may be. Is there anything, even nowadays that you still think I can try that out, like you said, college?
Yeah. I would love to go in a hot air balloon. I would love to skydive. I would
Mhm.
love to go to the moon if I had the money. I'd love to go up to the moon and back. Um, the regrets is I made really bad choices in men. Really bad choices. So um, I am really not picky, but particular of who I spend my time with as far as the males go. Because
Hmm.
I learned what I don't want.
Hmm.
So I regret that. I mean, I learned, but I felt like it was time that could have been spent much better than being with them.
Hmm. And was there any one relationship that you would say lasted the longest or was the most meaningful amongst the few that you may have had?
Well, I had a lot of boyfriends, but those were the two. I had two 7-year relationships
Hmm.
each, so it was kind of like a marriage. The best relationship I had was and my love was his name was Rick, and we lived together. I was 23, and he was truly the nicest, most generous, supportive. He's a musician. Well, he just passed away. He was very supportive. You know, a lot of men that I've met and been with are very intimidated by me and threatened by me, especially in the position that I held. And I was very, very successful
Hmm.
financially. And that was intimidating to a lot of men, I've been told. Um, so, sorry. Sorry. Um, yeah, that's the regret. And I mean, I had an epiphany. I think I was in my 40s that I never wanted to have kids,
Hmm.
which I still feel. But am- I really am sorry that I wasn't pregnant to experience somebody growing in my stomach and all of that. I would have loved to have been pregnant, but not but not have kids,
Hmm.
to experience that.
Hmm.
I'm really glad now I don't have kids because of the way the world is. So, I mean, I'm glad I made that decision.
And in terms of, like you mentioned, your two significant relationships, what would you say was the thing that you took the most from it? You know, relationships can be quite, feel very devastating at the end of it. But if you had to reflect back on it, what would you say you learned the most that helped you in life, or that you would carry with you?
Um, well, I can't really say, the problem with my relationships is that I'm a strong, well, then, and some people still tell me now, I'm very strong and I'm really independent,
Hmm.
and I didn't, again, I learned what I didn't want. And to be honest, I mean, in that time frame of those two 7-year relationships, I wasn't around a lot because I was constantly producing.
Hmm.
So maybe that was a contributing factor. I don't know, but they presented themselves in one way and then slowly turned out to be something else, someone else. So, yeah, I haven't had a lot of luck in that area of my life, except for my boyfriend Rick. When I was 23, we lived together, and I still have had relationship with him. I mean, he's married. I am his sister wife. He just unfortunately had a very horrible passing. Um, but I remained friends with him my whole life. Just the nicest, best guy, best boyfriend.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Now, kind of bringing it to a close, is there anything else that may come to the forefront of your mind that you would like to share about your life that I may have not asked? Or maybe somebody that was very important to you that you may have not mentioned?
Well, my father, I mean, my father set a really high bar, for men that come into my life because my father was such a passionate man and a really honest and true man. Um, um, and really supportive. I mean, I could cry. He was one of the most important people in my life, was my father. Um, he taught me compassion and empathy. Um, he let me fall and make mistakes, so I could learn. Um, yeah. Um, so I'm sorry, what was the question? I tend to like go off. What was
No,
the
no, that was perfect. I was asking about anybody that I may have not asked enough about, and you said your father. Now, do you have any, like, one specific memory of your father, or maybe one day that you'll never forget with him?
Yeah, so my best friend Linda and we were in high school, and we were popular in all the different circles of high school, but there was one group of they were this tough Mexican group, if you will, and they were rough. I had such a crush on one of them because he was so handsome, so I kind of brushed everything else away. But my father was driving us. It was called the Teen Center, and they had dances. And my father drove, I was in the back seat with my friend Linda, and he was driving us to this dance. And I could see like the hair stand up on the back of his neck because when he pulled up, he could see this group of people. There was a lot of them that, I mean, probably they would be considered gang members. I mean, they weren't bad people, but they looked, they were not of what my father wanted. And he turned around to me and he said, I don't want you to go there. I don't want you to go there. I'm going to let you go in, but I want you to exercise your common sense. And exercising my common, that he said that to me, I've carried my whole life because there's been things that I've wanted to do, and his little voice comes in, or his strong voice comes in to remind me to exercise my common sense. That's what I learned from my dad.
Mhm. I love that. Um, all right. I know that you mentioned that you have something at 6:30, so I'm
No,
gonna
no,
bring.
it's okay. Keep going. It's okay. I want you to get what you need.
Honestly, I think I've asked the majority of the good questions. I guess I can just go back to that similar question, that I just asked, if there is anybody else or any other events in your life that have been very crucial, maybe important to your life story. Since I am kind of, looking at an overview of your life, kind of broad term, is there any maybe one event or another additional person that may have not gotten mentioned?
My aunt, my father's sister, who just passed away a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
was my heart. I mean, this woman, she passed away. She was almost 98, but her attitude, her outlook, her support um, was amazing. She was, when I still have a big hole in my heart for her passing. She was like my best friend.
Mhm.
Yeah, my best friend. I could tell her anything, anything, and she was always there for me, good times and bad times.
Mhm. And when you guys hung out or did things together, what would you do?
Um, what did we do? Mainly through the last few years, we went to dinner like once a month. We'd go to this restaurant that we love, and we'd sit at the bar and eat at the bar. Beautiful, beautiful restaurant bar. And she'd have her glass of wine, and I would have my Aperol spritz. Um, she liked to go shopping, and then she'd like to return everything. So we spent a lot of time shopping and then going back and everything. Um, I mean, when she was younger and able, I mean, we did. We went to museums, we went to movies, we went to plays and musicals downtown. We did a lot of that. We did a lot of that. Um, and just, we would just hang out. I mean, she was just a phenomenal, bright, loving, sassy woman.
Mhm. I love that. All right. Well, I think I asked the majority of my questions. I don't want to cut off your story again. Is there anybody else that you may have wanted to mention within your life?
Um,
Did you have
hmm,
a best friend? What would you say? You mentioned a lot of close friends throughout your life and a lot of great relationships. A lot of
mhm.
people, though, would say that they have, your one or two best friends. Who would you say that that is for you?
Well, Robin, who's here, has hung with me through thick and thin. I'm really lucky. I have a posse. It's not, I have probably six women um, that are true blue to me. And they would give me a lung, I would give them a kidney. I mean, it's that type of thing, you know.
Mhm.
Uh, like I'm looking at a surgery next month, and the offers and the care and the support that my circle of friends are giving me and have given me in the past.
Mhm.
Um, so I'd say I have best friends. I have probably four, and then other really good friends. I have probably, I don't know, five or six.
And like you mentioned, you said that with your aunt, you had kind of these scheduled kinds of hangouts. The week to week, how often would you see your friends?
Um, Pretty often. I mean, yeah, pretty often. For dinner, cocktails, movies. Pretty often. Pretty often.
All right. Well, thank you so much for interviewing with me today. Again, I appreciate you for sharing your experiences. These were, outside of just, my assignment. This was amazing to learn more about you as a person. We worked together for quite a long time. And, getting to know you on a deeper level has been amazing. Knowing about you further is, I feel like we're a little bit closer now. So,
Uh, I
I,
miss you so much. It was so hard for me to just get cut off because I do adore you. I told you that, and I hope that we can continue to, see one another and be in communication and contact. And your hair is really amazing. It's so long.
oh, thank you. Yes, it has gotten longer. I saw your name on, I was looking at the admin list. There was like a list of in the Sunrise iPads of like all the workers in the department. And one of them said Francine. And I was like, oh, Francine.
Yeah,
Like,
we'll
I
see what
hope
happens.
she'll eventually come back. But yeah, it seems like they're holding a spot for you. So you know what? We're holding a spot with you for you in our heart.
Well, me too, you. That's very sweet.
Welcome you back with open arms. But of course, after your recovery, um, are you going to be getting that done soon?
Yes, I just got part of the surgery approved. I'm just waiting. They're kind of questioning. It's a